Welcome back to Eden Zero Anime Review episode number 20. Yeah, if you're curious though why there was not a new review of this one last week, because I took a week off. Not unsurprising, almost like every anime I watched as typically did this. So far, the only ones that have never taken a week off that I can think of have been the two shows I review on Saturday, one I'm going to review today anyways. Excuse me, How Real is Hero of the Kingdom and The Case Study of Atlantis. Those two have not taken a week off yet, probably because they just started, and kind of the same thing with the two shows I review on Wednesday, where those shows have not taken a week off. This one did, but this time was only 1 week. I'm sure they probably needed a break after doing 19 straight episodes, but they left on a very awkward cliffhanger. This one basically, this 20th episode is called Stones. Now, one thing I've noticed though about when it comes to Eden Zero, a lot of the time the episode titles are usually one-word titles. This one's called Stones. Next one's called Reset. Yep, this one covers from the rest of chapter 51, and it covers the entirety of chapters 52 and 53. Now, with this episode, there's exactly 15 chapters left of the arc to adapt for this particular series, to cover this particular arc. So, we can probably assume to say that the final 5 episodes of the season will cover those last 15 chapters. If they cover 3 chapters per episode, that's possible to say at least. Though they could also basically start the very next arc of the series, which is called... Oh, what is the name of it? Sorry, I basically have to look it up on here. It is called... excuse me. Let me see here. It is called Balagor, and that one's like 31 chapters. Yeah, that'll probably come for season 2 of the series. This one picks up exactly left off last week, where Shiki and Hamura were transported off someplace, basically the labor district, because they dare use violence in a casino. They are sentenced to the hunt for 100,000 medals. And of course, these are what the guards tell them, that they're not dead. This is what they say, not been terminated. They just been sentenced to basically do hard labor, just basically almost like a game, hunting down these medals. And now, before we cut to what Shiki's up to, now there's a brief thing with the madam. Yeah, we see her briefly in the episode for like one scene. She's mentioned several times in the episode. But the only scene she's in, she basically is talking to a gentleman who looks exactly like one of the characters from Fairy Tail. Yeah, they say he's from the planet Genos, I believe it's called. And they say, oh yeah, their men basically known for being very attractive. And despite the fact he's a model, he's also a certified butler. And then she wants to say like, oh, it's like, let me see if you want you to strip. And he's like, no problem. It seems like he was a bit hesitant at first, but he has no problem showing off his body. And then he decides to make a mistake. What is the mistake? He touched her cheek. Apparently, she finds it offensive the fact that she dared chuck her cheek. Like, apparently he wanted to possibly sleep with her because he comments several times, she's a beautiful woman. I agree, she's a beautiful woman. But her action comes next, basically, is same shows in the manga, too, except the subbing, the way the subbing words it, is they change the word. Basically, she uses a hand grip on his face and then simply burn his face. I look at the device in the episode, I'm like, wait, is that the same device from Stardust G1? One of those, like, special hand devices? I mean, it looks same exact image. I think that the writer of Eden Zero, he must have basically took inspiration from the very image, except that the device basically, it's basically a palm device, except that one basically is a small one. It goes in front of the palm. Excuse me. This one is like basically like a special like gauntlet, and she burns a man's face. Because apparently that's the most important thing about him. Not his groin, his face. Okay, so apparently so toss the thing out, and of course she asks her, possibly, I think this is her butler, because he was trying to be her assistant. So, yeah, it's like, you ever heard smell Eden Zero? He's like, no. Draken Joe's after it. Apparently it's got an ether drive. And he points out, though, it takes 10 years to mine something like that. He says, that's correct. And that's the scene. It only lasts for a good couple minutes. And then we have... Now, a lot of the episodes focus on Shiki. I'd say most of the episode is. The stuff for Rebecca is quite interesting, to say the least. We have Rebecca basically soaking. Now, we do see a brief redhead in the casino. Possibly this could be Urza make a cameo in the series. I mean, after all, the last episode had Natsu and Lucy make a cameo. So I would not be surprised that Urza herself make a cameo, because after all, the series likes throwing characters from Fairy Tail make a quick cameo just cuz. Or basically, Rebecca so can figure out what to do next, how to get to Labor District. And then Lala Bell shows up because she really wants to be with Shiki again to thank him for saving her life during the B-Cubers kidnapping incident. So, it's like, hey, I'll help you out. Put on this outfit and basically dance. And of course, we have this guy called Nico, who apparently is a big anime fan. He basically is known for giving out like anime otaku news. And his catchphrase is anime. Now, this is in the anime. He says anime will save the universe. In the manga, he says anime will save the world. Probably yes. But I don't mind the fact they changed the universe because it's sci-fi. Why in the world would you leave it just the world? Just the universe. I think that's great, the fact the anime changed that word. Because it makes a lot more sense to say that for when it comes to the anime. And of course, there's a dance, and then goes on the stage, and then... oh boy. Like, apparently they decided to replay the scene from Carrie, except having pig's blood dropped on Rebecca, it's slime. Now, here's the thing. You probably were expecting her to have telepathic powers and basically go on a rampage, like Carrie did in the original Stephen King movie, the Stephen King adaptation film. Nope, that did not happen here. She basically was like very calm, and she was going to help. It was like, nah, it wasn't going to kill you anyways, basically just a prank video. Pino decides to cry. Oh yeah, she doesn't know who Moore is, so she first was the girl in the kimono. Look up, Neno basically is there. Apparently he's a famous B-Cuber. And he basically agrees to help her. Unlike Lullabelle, basically is just to embarrass her. And then they go off, and that's it for them. Meanwhile, though, we see Shiki and Homura end up in this cave. Anybody thinking, I think they do something adult? No. They're basically there. They have collars on their necks, which this pops out of nowhere. In case you're curious, though, do they actually show them actually putting the collars on their necks? The answer is no. It's never shown in either the manga or the anime. So I'm not going to fault the anime for this. I'm following Hiro Mashima for that. So, and we see that thing says 100,000. And we see that there's these bugs that show up, and Homura takes out one of them. Excuse me, and that does affect the medal count. Then, of course, we actually have these three guys show up to save them and say that you have, like, every time you basically hurt these creatures, or these other creatures, you basically chunk them out of medals, and if you get all the way down to 0, possibly get released. And that's to kind of explain it. And then, of course, they see there's a guy who works for the Madam who is beating up a guy for not getting material. And Shiki tries to intervene, be very polite, doesn't stop. He is unconscious, just stop it. And apparently he decides to act like an idiot, act like basically a stupid idiot, so basically just calm down, just basically walk it off. No, he takes out a whip, whips their legs, yes, their legs, to stun them, and then proceeds to whip Homura, because he likes doing it to pretty women. And of course Shiki takes one of the whip shots, and then she's dragged away. And of course, she tells Shiki to stop. Of course, she uses Ether Gear, of course, apparently because she tends to express her thoughts out loud. That's the thing about Ether Gear. And then Shiki is told not to interfere because basically he's one of the higher ups. He's like, no. And then, of course, he goes to save his friend. And now, then, of course, they show her. And the anime does slightly alter the scene. You see, in the manga, this guy, I don't know this guy's name. He apparently has already started ripping apart Homura's outfit In the anime, just do it to her sleeves, but not her chest. You actually don't see any of her. You don't see an exposure of her breast, like not like full front thing. Well, like it's not like a. In the manga, it's a partial rip, like a part of it's ripped off. In the anime, there's some minor damage to it compared to the manga. Basically, there's a lot more damage to it. And because she's tied up, like have her hands up like this, she can't use her ether gear. So, and it's implied though that he wants to basically whip her, and possibly it's implied he may want to rape her because she's a beautiful woman. This guy basically is a tormentor, so he likes to rape beautiful women. And luckily enough, basically a door breaks down, and it's Shiki. Now, with the lines he said here at the end of the episode, is almost the same as in the manga, except it's actually a slight alteration from what I read. In the manga, it's very quick, and there's not much for there's actually a little more word to his dialogue, where he says, "I'm not a hero of justice. I am here for her. Like you will see the true power of the Demon King." Now, it's very similar to how he ended in the manga, which I do appreciate the fact it ended on a really cool moment. So good job, JC staff, for doing that. And this definitely was a damn good episode. I do like it. I'd say that nothing was really cut here. I'd say they only changed one thing, and that's basically with Hamura. Aside from that, they pretty much kept the anime pretty much the same. Well, they did change some forms of dialogue, per se, for like a couple of characters. Like Shiki, they changed his ending dialogue, but I think his ending dialogue in the anime is better than the manga one. And of course, Nino saying that anime would save the universe compared to the manga, where anime would save the world. I like the universe thing better because it's a space-based series. So why would you say the world, right? If you're action-adventure, then you would say the world. If it's sci-fi, say the universe. That's my opinion, anyways. So, we got 5 more episodes left of this season, and hopefully we get season 2 out of this one. I hope so. Okay, so that's it for Circle of View. Stay tuned for the next video, which will be the Case of Atlantis. Okay, next video. Bye.